What's up guys, J-Dog here, and welcome back to the channel. If you guys are not yet subscribed to the channel, please consider hitting the subscribe button, leaving a like on the video, and commenting down below what your favorite ride at Cedar Point is. So me and my family, as well as Alvin and our friend Adriana, we went to Cedar Point for the first time ever this past Saturday, August 31st, and it was fun. I had a blast. So in this video, I'm going to go over the 11 roller coasters that I went on, as well as the few that I didn't go on. These are the 6 roller coasters I did not ride on Saturday. They are as follows: Blue Streak, Magnum XL 200, Millennium Force, Rougarou, Top Thrill 2, and Woodstock Express. Those are the only roller coasters I did not ride. Woodstock Express is a kids coaster. So now let's get into the rankings from number 11 all the way to number 1. Starting off with number 11, it is called Wilderness Run. It is a kids coaster made by Intimate and Camp Snoopy. Me and my daughter Zoe, we went on that ride. She loved it. It did hurt my ribs a little bit on the break room, but all in all, it was a decent ride, especially for a little kid. I was just thankful I got to ride it with her. Next up, number 10 will be Wild Mouse, made by Zamperla, located on the boardwalk. It goes 35 miles per hour with cars that spins, and it seats 4 people per car. And when you're loading in the station, the cars are constantly moving, so you have to be careful getting in and out of the ride. It was decent. I've been on Wild Mouse rides before. I rode Raging Cajun when it was at Great America. Haven't been on one in a while, and as well as Dark Knight is kind of considered a Wild Mouse since it does spin a little bit. But this one, the cars actually spin, which was pretty fun. I did get dizzy near the end though, because when we were on the brake run waiting to get back into the station, the car just kept on spinning and spinning and spinning. Next up, at number 9, is Cedar Creek Mine Train, made by Aero Development in Frontier Town. Has 2 chain lifts, hits a top speed of 42 miles per hour and 30 passengers per train. This ride sucked. I was not a fan of it, and this was a tough one for me to rank Wild Mouse or Cedar Creek Mine Train, either 9th or 10th. But all in all, not a fan. Would I ever ride it again? Probably not. It kind of reminded me of a ride I rode a couple of years ago in Magic Mountain called Gold Rusher, I believe it was. And that ride kind of had a similar layout, but this one was a lot worse. Next up at number 8 will be Corkscrew. Also made by Aero Development. That's in the Top Thrill 2 Midway. Has a top speed of 48 miles per hour, 24 riders per train. They had 2 trains running, and it has 3 inversions, a loop and 2 corkscrews. So right after you left the station, you would make a right turn, go up the lift hill. At the top, you would go down the drop, go over Camelback Hill into the only loop, and then you would do the 2 corkscrews before finally getting back into the station. I enjoyed this ride. Kind of reminded me of Demon, except Demon at Great America has 2 loops. Corkscrew only has 1. And we did ride it 3 times, me, Alvin, and Adriana. Next up at number 7 is going to be Iron Dragon, made by Aerodynamics in the Millennium Midway. It is a suspended roller coaster, 2 chain lifts, 40 mile per hour top speed, and 28 riders per train. And this ride reminded me a lot of Ninja and Magic Mountain, except the final lift hill for Ninja was leading back into the station. This lift hill, the second lift hill on Iron Dragon, pretty much brought you up after the mid-course brake run into the second part of the ride, which I thought was amazing. Next up at number 6 is Gemini. It is also made by Aero Development. It's in the Gemini Midway, steel tracks racing coaster, 60-mile-per-hour top speed on both the red and the blue sides, seats 30 riders per train, and it is considered a high five coaster. Now, what I mean by a high five coaster is when you're going around some of the curves, you're able to reach out across and high five people on the opposite train, which I thought was amazing. I've never been on a roller coaster like that. I thought it was amazing. And it is a wooden roller coaster, but it does have steel tracks, which is kind of weird, but whatever. It is what it is. But all in all, that was an amazing coaster. Would have cracked my top 5, but the next 5, I have no words. Next up at number 5 is Valraven, which is a B&M dive coaster located in the main midway. It has a top speed of 75 miles per hour with 3 inversions, 24 riders per train, 3 rows, 8 across. This was my first ever dive coaster. And let me tell you, then when you're going up that lift and you get to the top and you just hang over the edge before the drop, that is heart pounding. My eyes went from this to extremely wide, like this. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I love this roller coaster a lot. That's why I cracked my top 5. If I did ride it, Gemini would have been number 5 for sure. But Valraven, amazing. I cannot wait for Dive Coaster Great America to open next year, because that will be my second ever. But as my first ever dive coaster, I gotta say Valraven, one of the best. Next up, at number 4 is Raptor, a B&M inverted coaster in the main midway. 57 mile per hour top speed, 6 inversion, 32 riders per train, 8 cars, 4 people across. This was the very first ride that we hit. Me, Alvin, and Adriana hit once we got to Cedar Point, because it's literally right down a little bit away from the main entrance to the theme park. And we got the first ride of the train. First ride of the day. And let's just say that that ride kicked butt. It was amazing. I have no words for that, but it was fun. The loops, just the inversions on the ride, you could feel the G-force on some of those inversions, which was amazing. I've never felt anything like that before, but that, yeah. Coming in at number 3, and this is where it's getting a little bit tough for me to choose the next 3 roller coasters. But coming in at number 3 is Gatekeeper, which is a B&M wing coaster located on the boardwalk. 67 mile per hour top speed, 6 inversions, 32 passengers per train, which is 8 cars, 4 across, and they have 3 trains running on this ride. This ride honestly blows X-Flight out of the water. No pun intended, because Cedar Point is on a peninsula surrounded by water. But this ride literally blows X-Flight out of the water. It has the largest ground to air loop in any roller coaster, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I couldn't believe how amazing this ride was. And I only rode it one time, but it was worth every second of it. Now we get into the top 2, and this is where it kind of got hard for me to choose, because both of these rides I loved and I enjoyed. And one of these 2 will be maybe my new number 1 roller coaster after everything's said and done. I haven't done my new rankings list yet, but I'll do that later on, and I'll do that in a new video that will be posted Thursday or Friday. But coming in at number 2 is Maverick, an intimate launch coaster located in Frontier Town. It has 2 launches. The first launch is the launch lift hill, and the second launch is in a shed underneath the station. It launches you from 0 to 70 miles per hour in only 3 seconds. Top speed is 70 miles per hour with 2 inversions. There are 12 riders per train, 2 rows, 2 across, 6 total trains. What I like about this ride is when you get into the station, you have 2 loading platforms on both sides. You have one in the front and you have one in the rear. They basically unload and load 2 trains at the same exact time. And then once the one ride is loaded and the second one is loaded, the first one launches and the second one leaves the station, sits behind the launch of the lift hill until the first train gets to the second launch, and they launch that coaster. And as soon as that happens, the other 2 that are on the brake run move into the station, and it's just repeated. Even though the line can get extremely long for Maverick, it moves because they're loading trains simultaneously, which I think is amazing for a roller coaster of that magnitude. The very first drop in 95 degrees is unbelievable. The airtime hell after the first couple of turns, amazing. I was out of my seat majority of the ride, and I love airtime. And we were sitting in, I think, the 4th or 5th row on that ride, and I was getting a lot of airtime. Even though the harness was all the way down, I was still managing to get airtime, which I did not think was possible. And of course, y'all know my number 1 coaster. It's going to Steel Vengeance. Like I said, it was a toss-up between Steel Vengeance and Maverick for the top 2 spots. Even Gatekeeper was in the running for the top spot. But I'm going to go with Steel Vengeance. It's an RMC steel iBox track roller coaster located in Frontier Town. 74 mile per hour top speed with 4 inversions. 24 riders per train, 6 cars, 2 across, 3 trains running on that ride. I did Steel Vengeance near the end of the night around 9 o'clock. I went to Steel Vengeance because I wanted to ride both Steel Vengeance and Millennium Force. I did Steel Vengeance at night, so I got my night ride. And they still do use metal detectors in the queue. So they do split up the queue for the people that need to get a locker. They have their own little line with the metal detector, and the main line also has a metal detector. And they go side by side to load for passengers to get into the queue lines to load the trains. So if you have nothing in your pockets, they'll load that one, and they'll go to the next side, load that one, then they'll go back and forth, which I thought was amazing. This ride at night packs a punch. I don't know what it was about it, but I just instantly fell in love with this ride. Now I understand why a lot of people think Steel Vengeance is the number 1 roller coaster on a lot of enthusiasts' lists. Will it be number 1 on my list? I don't know. But after my trip to Cedar Point, I have no words. Now, before I forget, I did run from Steel Vengeance to Millennium Force. I was going to ride Millennium Force as my last ride of the night, but I didn't make it in time as they just closed the entrance to the ride. And it was, I think, 9:58, 9:59 when I got there. And I mean, I busted my ass getting from Steel Vengeance to Millennium Force. I literally ran as fast and hard as I can. In some areas were pitch black and I had no idea where I was going, but I got there. I just didn't get there in time. So all in all, that's my top 11 rides I rode at Cedar Point this past Saturday. All in all, it was an amazing trip. My first time ever going there. Had an amazing time. And we stayed at Castaway Bay on Friday. We stayed at Lighthouse Point on Saturday before making the drive home on Sunday. So if y'all can do me one favor, just leave a like on this video. Tell me what your favorite ride is at Cedar Point. And of course, if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. On the road to 500 subscribers. I want to get there before the end of this year, so please hit that subscribe button. I have more videos planned for you for the rest of this year. Thank you all for tuning in. I will see you next video. Peace out.